How often do you hear the words, "I'm just so stressed out," as you go about your day-to-day business? And more importantly, how often have you uttered this telling statement about yourself? We all have to face it. Stress is an integral part of 21st century life, and how we deal with it can have a significant effect on our health and well-being. It's not unusual anymore for people to value relaxation techniques and actively seek out therapies to help induce a sense of beneficial calm, even though our more straight-laced ancestors might well have taken a dim view of such indulgences. But you only have to walk into any high street chemist shop and see shelves laden with aromatherapy oils and a whole range of products designed to aid relaxation to understand that there's much more to healthy living than diet and exercise. The choices we take daily regarding health matters are based on greater accessibility to research and medical information, and this is most often evident when we are unwell. No longer is the family doctor always the first port of call. Homeopathy, acupuncture, osteopathy, aromatherapy and reflexology are all popular alternative treatments. And for the majority of people, a mixture of Western science combined with Eastern healing techniques works very well indeed. However, it's not always easy to decide which treatment is most beneficial to any given situation, and ongoing use of relaxation-based therapies can be more valuable than suddenly reaching for a cure when something goes wrong. This is certainly true of reflexology, the alternative therapy featured in this film, where regular sessions can boost health and well-being, while at the same time offering relief to those suffering from specific problem conditions. The programme will show you what to expect if you actually decide to consult a reflexologist, and also demonstrate the most popular techniques used should you wish to try them out for yourself on a day-to-day basis. So, what exactly is reflexology? Everybody knows it's something to do with feet, but precisely what can be something of a mystery. If you step back in history, there is evidence that the Chinese, Japanese, Indians, Russians and Egyptians all used foot massage to promote good health. But it wasn't until the 20th century that reflexology developed as the therapy we recognise today. In the 1930s, Eunice Ingham, a physiotherapist working in zone therapy, discovered that feet could be used to map the whole body. By stimulating appropriate reflex points on the feet, she could treat any number of disorders, bringing both pain relief and healing, which is how the scientific art of reflexology effectively came into being. Without getting too bogged down with anatomy, visualise a picture of the body superimposed on the soles of the feet. Think of the big toe as being the head, the inside edges of the feet corresponding to the spine, and the reflexes for all the main organs lying roughly in the same positions as they would within the body. Now, here you have to open your mind a little and see this from a more Eastern perspective. Treatments such as acupuncture and shiatsu work on energy channels, removing blockages and stimulating a constant flow of energy. If our qi, the term for this energy flow, is unobstructed, our health is fine. But just one aspect out of balance will start to give problems. This is the same principle that governs reflexology. All of the body's organs lie on the lines of our energy channels, which in turn correspond to the relevant areas of the feet. And by stimulating those points, any energy blockages can be gently dispersed, allowing the qi to flow freely again and good health to be restored. There's no scientific explanation as to why reflexology is so successful. However, if you ask the thousands of people who have benefited from its healing properties, you will most definitely be assured that it works, which is really all that matters, especially as there are no side effects whatsoever. Time then to actually meet our reflexologist, Alison Tovey, who has been practicing this wonderful therapy for many years from her home in the beautiful English countryside of the Forest of Dean. It might sound a little odd, but a reflexologist will not actually make a diagnosis. If someone is consulting her with a specific problem, although she may well pay extra attention to the relevant areas of the feet, her general treatment will follow its usual pattern. Incidentally, a good reflexologist will never need to be told where a problem area is. She'll pick it up quickly enough during the course of a treatment. First things first, you've got to the reflexologist of your choice, and after an initial consultation, the moment arrives for the removal of the shoes, boots, sandals, trainers, socks, stockings, tights, and even the ubiquitous corn plaster. This is often the hardest bit of the whole process to overcome, as most people really dislike their feet. Now, nobody's suggesting that you dash off for a pedicure prior to visiting your reflexologist, but there are a few things you can do to improve your self-esteem regarding your feet. Cut your toenails regularly, square across, and if they're too hard for this, soak them in warm water first. Raggedy nail edges are no good from a comfort point of view, and you'll feel unhappy when you expose them. Moisturise your feet. Dry skin is again uncomfortable, and at the first sign of cracking or itching from athlete's foot, treat the condition, as there are plenty of preparations available for doing this. Also, having painstakingly snipped, soaked and moisturised before your appointment, try and keep your feet exposed to the air. Wear open-toed shoes or sandals, and if this isn't possible, go for socks of natural fabrics. Avoid sweat-making nylon or polyester. But be assured of one thing. No matter how revolting you think your feet might be, an experienced reflexologist will have undoubtedly encountered a whole lot worse somewhere along the line. As a minor point here, it's worth mentioning that if you have a foot injury or problem, or perhaps really can't bear having your feet touched, reflexology can be given through the hands. The reflex points are similar to those on the soles of the feet, but are much less sensitive, so they're more difficult to locate quite so accurately. Nevertheless, it's well worth considering if feet are just not an option. What happens next will vary, depending upon how your reflexologist likes to work. Some will use a treatment couch, like the one you see here, with their clients lying down. Alternatively, a good comfy armchair will work just as well if your reflexologist is treating you in your own home. If you want to try your hand at giving reflexology to a friend or member of your family, a normal bed is a good place to start. Use cushions and pillows to support the back and also put them under the knees to allow relaxed access to the feet. The first and most important step towards an effective reflexology session is relaxation, which is not always easy to begin with. People's feet can be rather ticklish, particularly if they're feeling a little nervous, which is why a reflexologist will always touch your feet quite firmly so that this should never be a problem. It can be nice to start with a little non-greasy cream massaged into the feet before you begin, and aromatherapy creams can be very helpful to aid the relaxation process. Lavender is a wonderful essential oil to use and a great favourite. Chamomile extremely soothing, and lemon oil can be very refreshing, but it's all a question of preference. You may also find that your reflexologist likes to use scented candles or aromatherapy burners to create an atmosphere of relaxation, which really can help to set an appropriate mood that is conducive to healing. Bear this in mind if you are giving reflexology a try at home, because the discipline of creating a tranquil haven in which to practice will benefit both the giver and receiver of reflexology. This is probably quite an unexpected concept, because at first glance it would appear that the reflexologist is performing a service that certainly looks rather demanding. However, when reflexology is really effective, the healer will be calmed and centred whilst working with the feet, and this is all to the good. Don't even think about giving reflexology if you're tired, irritable, or you are feeling unwell yourself, as the energy required is way beyond physical manipulation. Think in terms of energy flow from your hands to your recipient's feet, and the result will be far more effective than if you simply concentrate on targeting the relevant areas as dictated by a reflexology foot map. Now, we've already talked a little bit about preparing the feet for reflexology, so a quick word here about your hands will be very helpful. They need to be supple as well as strong, and there are some simple exercises you can try if you want to start giving reflexology at home. Hold a small rubber ball in your hand, squeeze your fingers around it, and then relax them. Repeat this several times and then change hands. Work on your fingers and thumbs by grasping each in turn with the opposite hand, stretching and rotating gently clockwise and then anti-clockwise, before completing the movement by giving a small tug to pull the finger or thumb straight. There's no need to pray for inspiration, although a sense of spirituality is undoubtedly of great value. However, holding your hands together as if in prayer is the way to start this next exercise. Steadily lift your elbows so that your palms cease to touch, but your fingertips are pressed together for a count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Staying with praying hands, work on developing your sensitivity as well as your strength. At first, hold them about 2 inches apart and slowly move them closer together until they're almost touching. Repeat this at intervals of 4, 6, 8 and 10 inches, each time bringing the hands very slowly together until as close as possible without actually touching. You'll be amazed at the unusual tingling sensation you will feel, almost like opposing magnets, with a remarkably tangible sense of heat. But more of that just a little later. With the hands in full working order, it's time to get started on a reflexology treatment. Notice Alison's careful approach to the feet, actually introducing herself and getting to know each foot in a warm and friendly way. Her touch is firm and supportive, but at this early stage it's also quite passive as she warms and loosens the feet in order to relax her client. It may take some time to relax the feet sufficiently to start using reflexology, but judging this is a skill that will only come with practice. A good, thorough reflexology treatment usually takes between 45 minutes and an hour. This is possibly going to be the most useful piece of advice for anyone thinking of acquiring the skills to give reflexology. Pace yourself. There are 2 feet, and it's no good getting carried away and working 40 minutes plus on one foot because you'll not have sufficient energy to balance the treatment. Also, don't try to do too long too soon. Start with 10 minutes and work your way up to the longer sessions. However, if you treat yourself to an appointment with a qualified reflexologist, you'll get your full-time quota without having to worry about sore hands. With the feet nice and relaxed, the reflexologist can begin the treatment process in earnest. Firstly, here's a very quick guide to what you'll find where on the feet, particularly helpful if you don't know your pancreas from your solar plexus. This is the absolute minimum of information, intended only to get you started. But there are a variety of excellent reflexology guidebooks on the market, which you will undoubtedly want to progress onto if you decide to learn a little more about this fascinating subject. Before starting to work the feet, you need to do what is described as opening up the zones, which is what you see Alison doing here, working gently up the foot, accessing the zone lines. This will simply prepare the whole body for the reflexology session, ensuring maximum effectiveness. Once this has been done, you can begin to focus on the different areas of the feet and the corresponding parts of the body map. Starting from the top and working downwards, the toes mirror the head and neck areas of the body. As well as the more obvious brain reflex points at the tips of the toes, the eye, ear and sinus areas, and the neck region at the base of the toes, there are also a number of very important glands to be considered. Both big toes contain reflex points for the pituitary gland, and these areas are very significant in any reflexology treatment. The pituitary lies at the base of the brain, controlling all of the other glands responsible for hormone production and distribution. Growth, metabolic rate, reproductive cycles, fluid retention and energy levels all depend upon the pituitary gland being in good working order. Other glands to take note of in the big toe area are the pineal and the hypothalamus, together on the outer edge of the big toe, which affects such things as mood, appetite and body temperature respectively. Lower down, at the base of the big toe, you'll come across the thyroid gland, which is located in the neck and controls metabolism. If the thyroid isn't functioning as it should, weight and energy levels can be problematic. Moving on down to the ball of the foot, the reflex points correspond to the organs in the chest, with the heart to be found on the left foot and lungs being of primary concern. You can draw a line across the bottom of the ball of the foot, which directly relates to the diaphragm, and on all reflexology charts, right in the middle of this line, you'll see the solar plexus. This network of nerves regulates the function of the organs, and it crops up regularly in suggested reflexology treatments for a wide range of conditions. Turning here to the front of the foot, you'll be able to access the lymph system, which can be stimulated very effectively by reflexology, improving lymphatic drainage, which helps to eliminate toxins from the body and strengthen the immune system to defend the body against harmful bacteria and viruses. Below the diaphragm line, you'll find the reflex points for the liver, which are on the right foot. The liver has more than 500 functions, including processing the body's nutrients into what can be stored and what needs to be expelled as waste. Within the reflex area for the liver, you'll find the gallbladder, which stores bile to help with digestion. Although you'll access some areas of the stomach on the right foot, the majority of the reflex points are to be found on the left foot. Also on the left foot is the pancreas, which controls glucose levels in the blood. The pancreas produces insulin for this purpose, and insufficient levels of this vital hormone will result in diabetes. Slightly further down, the C-shaped duodenum, responsible for breaking down food, can be located on both feet. The spleen, we all know we've got one without necessarily being aware of what it does, is very important to the immune system and can be accessed on the left foot. We have 2 kidneys, crucial in the removal of body waste, and a reflex area can be found on each foot. Now, although the kidneys are of critical importance to good health, the adrenal glands that lie on the top of the kidneys are equally significant, particularly in reflexology. On the feet, you'll find the adrenal reflexes, one on each, just above the kidney reflex points. The adrenaline that is produced from these glands is often known as the fright, flight and fight hormone, and a lot of our modern-day stress is triggered by inappropriate adrenaline responses. Put it this way. Our ancestors as hunter-gatherers needed plenty of adrenaline if they were going to survive. A herd of elephants or a snarling tiger suddenly charging towards you meant getting out of the way mighty fast, or being prepared for a fight if all else failed. Adrenaline made this more effective by pumping blood to the limbs for maximum efficiency in escaping a dangerous situation. This is why a person who has had a fright or shock goes very white in the face, as all the blood is channeled away from non-essential areas. It might be fine if you're in the jungle, but in our modern, increasingly urbanised lives, it's all out of proportion. Being stuck in a traffic jam when you're late for work will produce as much adrenaline as if you had a woolly mammoth to escape from. Running at high speed as fast as your legs could carry you would naturally disperse the adrenaline in the bloodstream, whereas angrily beeping your horn fails miserably when it comes to neutralising the reaction. Anger gets bottled up and stress levels rise to boiling point, in extreme circumstances with tragic consequences. Working on down the foot, we have reflex points for the ureter tubes, which link the kidneys to the bladder, and the bladder itself on the heel line of both feet. Watch out for the small intestines and the colon areas, all of importance in keeping the body clear of toxic waste. At the lowest point of the heel of each foot, you'll find the sciatic area, which can be crucial in helping people suffering from debilitating back pain. The outer foot and ankle regions are also important, so don't be surprised when your reflexologist moves on to these areas. On the outer foot, there are reflex points for the knee, leg, hip, lower back, arm and shoulder. Also, depending on whether you're male or female, your reflexologist will access either the ovaries or the testicles. Moving over the top of the ankle, there are reflex points for the prostate or uterus, again depending on gender, and last but by no means least, the rectum. It's a lot to remember, and as explained earlier, it's not a case of targeting specific points, but it will help you to recognise which areas of the body are presenting problems within a treatment. Relaxing the feet at the beginning of the treatment does have an element of massage in it, but reflexology is quite different to a foot massage. Hold the foot firmly with one hand whilst applying gentle pressure with the thumb of the other hand to specific points. Some reflex areas will be sensitive, particularly if there's a problem with the corresponding organ. So be firm in your touch by all means, but also gentle enough to gauge your recipient's reactions. Don't try to give reflexology without being able to see your recipient's face, because you'll instantly pick up the slightest wince through eye contact and alter your treatment accordingly. For a good basic sequence to get you going, start by pressing all along the diaphragm line under the ball of the foot. Then gradually work up the inner foot, accessing the reflex points of the spine from the heel along the arch of the foot to the big toe. You will by now have realised that the big toe is very important indeed, corresponding to the head and the major glands. Be thorough, working the very tip, the sides and the middle, where that all-important pituitary gland is to be found. Don't neglect the rest of the toes. Work each in similar fashion, but not necessarily for so long or as extensively. This is a good point to turn your attention to the top of the foot, working the lines of the tendons from the base of the toes to the ankle. Returning to the sole of the feet, begin to work the ball of the foot, paying particular attention to the lung areas. Remember that the main heart reflex point is to be found on the inside of the left foot, so always be very thorough in this specific area. Gently move down towards the waistline from the diaphragm as if you were drawing lines with your thumb. Then reverse this by doing exactly the same but from the heel upwards, helping to strengthen the digestive system. Next, apply pressure to the reflex points around the ankle, firmly cradling the foot in the other hand, ensuring that the reflexes for the lower back and reproductive organs are well covered. Then you can pay particular attention to the base of the heel, which anybody suffering with lower back pain will really appreciate. This will conclude a basic reflexology treatment, but just as you greeted the feet at the beginning of the session, you must not undo all your good work by finishing abruptly. Gently stroke the feet, the top and the sole from ankle to toe, soothing the whole area. If you were to take your hands from the recipient's feet now and put them up to your own face, you would be surprised at how lovely and warm they feel, and also quite literally pulsing with healing energy. Don't let this go to waste. Just hold your recipient's foot still, cradled in your hands for 30 to 60 seconds, or until the warmth subsides. It's a lovely way for reflexology treatments to draw to a close for both parties involved, truly instilling a sensation of spiritual and physical well-being, even if the reflexologist then has to start on the second foot. By this stage in the programme, you will have acquired a good basic understanding of reflexology, but nothing is set in stone. Experiment for yourself, try out different moves and sequences, and see what works best in any given situation. Now Alison will demonstrate a selection of really useful techniques that you might like to try. Take a close look at how she uses her thumb to press a specific point, in this case the solar plexus. After finding the point by gently squeezing the foot to locate the indentation where it lies, she applies steady pressure for a few seconds until moving on to make gentle circular movements before finally holding the spot once more and releasing the pressure. Here's a lovely technique, often called the thumb slide. Starting at the base of the toes on the top of the foot, use the side of your thumb to slide down the natural indentations between the bones of the foot towards the ankle. By the time you reach the diaphragm line, back off a little on the pressure, because you'll notice that the skin is drawn quite tightly across the bones of the foot here, and it can easily become a little sore if you're too firm. You can then reverse the process, sliding down from the ankle to the toes in exactly the same way. This ankle rock with the palms of the hands turned upwards is really nice, and if you get it right, the foot will actually shake from side to side. Toe stretching not only helps you access various reflex points, but it's also great for loosening up the joints. Hold each toe one at a time with the thumb and index finger and gently pull it outwards. You'll sometimes hear clicks when you do this, so don't be alarmed. Thumb walking is a very good way to access all the zones of the feet as you move down from the base of the toe to the heel. Finger walking can be very useful too, particularly in the more sensitive areas, as the fingers are not quite so strong as the thumbs. One question a lot of people ask when they first hear about reflexology is, who exactly is it suitable for? The answer is absolutely anyone, from the very young to the young at heart, which does often come as something of a surprise. Children and young people can definitely benefit from reflexology, and within the family context, it can often help individuals to break down communication barriers. If you're at the end of your tether with a troublesome teenager, reflexology can go a long way towards relieving the tensions of hormone overload for both giver and receiver. It's worth trying. You have nothing to lose, and if you're successful, the close bond that you'll build with your truculent offspring will be very precious indeed. Couples can really use reflexology to their advantage, and in this context you can be both giver and receiver, learning to help each other unwind in this most tangible and tactile way. It has been said that if you are rowing with your partner, a good mutual reflexology session can be a very effective way of calling a halt to the proceedings. It's tough to just drop the subject, but you do need to whilst the reflexology is going on. Afterwards, you should be able to return to the cause of the altercation in a far more focused way, and often with a better understanding of the other person's point of view than you could have possibly imagined. We can't guarantee that this will always work, and appreciating that such a course of action is not always appropriate in a busy household, perhaps discretion may be the better part of valour when using reflexology to diffuse a full-on row. There's a wonderful story told in India about a young woman who hated her mother-in-law so much that she went to the local wise woman and asked for poison to kill the old lady. The wise woman gave the girl a pot of scented cream, which she told her to gently rub into her mother-in-law's feet every day. The poison contained in the cream would have the desired effect over a period of time. The girl worked gently as instructed day after day, but within the month she returned to the wise woman begging for an antidote. No longer did she hate her mother-in-law, she had learned instead to love and cherish her, and now she couldn't bear the thought of losing her. The wise woman smiled and told the girl that there was nothing but soothing flower oils in the cream, and she had known all along what the outcome would be. Of course, there had never been any poison. It was just a wonderful way for the two women to forge a close and caring relationship. Like all stories from folklore, who can say how much truth there is in such a tale? But it's nevertheless worth remembering next time a family member is driving you to distraction. Reach for the feet first rather than the alcohol or the antidepressants. Using reflexology for older people is very valuable indeed, and for older couples it can be a really good opportunity to spend quality time together, caring for each other. There are, however, a few points to remember when working on feet that have covered a fair few miles in a long lifetime. Firstly, older toes are not quite so straight as you will find on a younger person. Don't immediately try to straighten them up. Instead, work with the shape of the toes as they are, and gradually, over a number of sessions, you'll probably find improvement, with greater flexibility allowing you to stretch and extend them as you work. We've spoken a little about cracking sounds when doing reflexology around the toes, and in the older foot you'll find that this happens with greater regularity. It doesn't mean that you're being over rough with your technique. Joints can be quite creaky and noisy, and as long as the owner of the popping toes doesn't experience any discomfort, then carry on. Just as you should monitor the reaction of anybody you are giving reflexology to, start gently and increase your firmness as appropriate, backing off a little anytime you see any signs of discomfort. There are usually a few telltale signs on older feet, showing where you might be likely to find heightened sensitivity. Areas where broken blood vessels appear can be very tender, so be gentle, as can the skin around corns and bunions. Also, keep your reflexology sessions on older, more fragile skin quite short, at a 15 to 20 minute maximum. But if you can do this every day, then the results will be very beneficial. All this might sound wonderful to you, but what do you do if your friends and family refuse to let you go anywhere near their feet and are equally horrified at the thought of going anywhere near yours? Well, the answer is simple. If you can't find a local reflexologist, then you can always do a little reflexology on yourself. It's not the most elegant of pastimes, but it's very effective nonetheless. Take just as much care preparing your working space as you would for anybody else. Dim the lights, use scented candles or aromatherapy burners, and perhaps put on your favourite music for relaxing to. Now, obviously this is not going to be quite as good as someone else giving the reflexology, but stick with it because the results can be very good. Sit comfortably and lift one foot to rest on the thigh of the opposite leg. Work gently over the whole foot and you'll quickly find out where the most attention is needed. This really does give you great access to the reflex points of the inner foot, and you can adapt the techniques Alison has been demonstrating for your own preferences. Obviously, then reverse the process to tackle the other foot. If you find this position a little uncomfortable, we're not all quite as supple as Alison. Why not try self-reflexology when you're in the bath? Your feet will be lovely and soft and easy to work, and you can use all sorts of aromatherapy oils in the water depending upon your state of mind. If you need to relax and sleep, lavender is the perfect choice, whereas rosemary would be more appropriate if you need to be invigorated. The sides of the bath will support you very comfortably, and a lot of people just enjoy a few minutes of self-reflexology every time they have a bath. To conclude this programme, Alison is going to demonstrate some suggested reflexology techniques if you or your loved ones are suffering from specific everyday ailments. As we've already explained, work the feet generally first, covering the whole body, and then you can concentrate on the problem areas. Headaches are one of the most common problems caused by stress in our modern day lives, and with reflexology you can do a great deal to help. As well as concentrating on the toes with the brain, sinuses, pituitary and thyroid glands, work on down to the solar plexus, pancreas, adrenals and sciatic areas. If it's a migraine headache, use exactly the same techniques. Back pain is equally as debilitating as headaches, and reflexology can give considerable relief to those afflicted. Again, head for the solar plexus and work the spine areas, neck, shoulder, arm, hip, and sciatic reflex points. Also, understanding where the spine is represented on the foot, you can target the areas, for example, the upper or lower back, where your subject is suffering the most pain. There is still no cure for the common cold, but there are things you can do with reflexology to relieve the symptoms. Work on the toes to access the sinus, ear, nose and throat reflex points. Here's an interesting one. If you tend to get bouts of hiccups that just won't stop, this could be very useful. Work on the solar plexus and the diaphragm, the chest areas, neck and stomach. You might be pleasantly surprised at how quickly the hiccups subside, and you don't have to turn blue holding your breath or get soaked trying to drink from the wrong side of the glass. Insomnia is horrible, and your general health will quickly deteriorate if your sleep patterns are interrupted. If you can get your partner to try reflexology for you, the results can be very good. And if they're the one who can't sleep, then you can try reflexology on them. You'll probably end up both getting to sleep at a reasonable time. Starting again with the solar plexus, work along the diaphragm line, lungs, shoulders and neck. Concentrate on the toes, the brain, thyroid, pineal and pituitary before moving on to the pancreas and the adrenals to induce peaceful sleep. There are many reasons why modern life makes us nervous on various occasions. Exam pressure on young people is horrendous, and facing a driving test at any age will strike terror into the heart of the bravest soul. A good but perhaps shortened reflexology session will really help to put you in the right frame of mind before such an ordeal, particularly if you concentrate on the solar plexus, diaphragm, thyroid, brain, pituitary, and of course those fright, flight and fight adrenals as well. As you progress with your reflexology, you'll undoubtedly search out the relevant books to suit your own needs best, and there will be excellent descriptions of how to use reflexology to help with a variety of ailments. You'll find suggestions for coping with everything from sore throats and morning sickness right through to terminal cancers. It might sound surprising, but reflexology has a very valid place in the care of the terminally ill for many reasons. Quality of life is everything, no matter how limited time might be, and even though reflexology may not be able to offer a cure, it can be most beneficial in easing symptoms. It's also a lovely way to spend precious time with someone who might be very sick, as by giving reflexology you can enjoy their companionship for as long as possible in a very positive way. The worst feeling for friends and relatives in this situation is that they can do nothing to help the person they love. With reflexology, they can. Whatever stage you are at in your life, however fit and healthy you may or may not be, there is something of value to be found within reflexology. Men, women, the young and the old can all improve their mental and physical well-being by using the simple techniques that you have seen demonstrated in this program. To find out whether it's likely to suit you, why not book up a session with a professional reflexologist and take it from there? Remember, little and often is the key to success when you begin, rather than rushing off to the reflexologist when a health problem develops. Good luck, relax, and let your feet lead you to a better, more peaceful way of life.